can still remember how nervous and excited I was about presenting my work. This was my first author paper as an undergrad. It's been rejected once, twice, but third time's a charm, and I'm going to Melbourne to present it. I had zero idea how to do proper HCI research back in year 2, and I was frequently burned out by school, startup, and research, which felt super effective against me. But I was lucky to have met some great mentor and friends along the way who inspired my transformation. And now I feel super effective against them. Oh, come on. In a truly Australian way, MobileHCI 2024 opened with an Aboriginal smoking ceremony. But of course, this is just one side the amazing land of Australia has.
Okay, so the conference has ended the first section, and now we're heading for a social section where I'm going to interview some researchers in HCI and see what kind of tips they have for undergrad researchers who are just beginning their career. So let's find out.
Oh wow. I think I'm a very curious person. I think I always like asking why. I've always done that, probably to an annoying extent when I was a kid.
Someone has the privilege to be doctor. Wow, I think that's a privilege, that's cool.
There was a class electronic teacher. In O-level, he carried us to an exhibition. We went to this robotics, see some robots, the competitions, they were really cool.
I always love Hayam concept. When I read his poem, I really enjoy because it's a science poem, a really scientific poem.
Early in my career when I was a practitioner, I was really inspired by usability engineering back in the 90s when that was not an accepted engineering discipline. I always loved the Tangible Bits work by Hiroshi Ishii at the MIT Media Lab. Pierre Wellner's Digital Desk paper.
If you ask me whether I believe it or not, yes, I believe it exists somewhere. It just never happened on me. I think ideally people should figure out a way to just be really strict about what time you should be working on, what time you should not, and not to sacrifice your sleep time and your health for that.
You can't separate work and life. Sometimes the life is more important. Then in that case you prioritize life at that certain period of time. Let's say you want to submit anyway for this conference or journal, then you have to prioritize the work. I completely agree. You have to allocate certain times for yourself. For me, I watch anime or I watch book reading novels of particular fictions. Every Saturday or Sunday, one day I go and hike or just sightseeing.
It's okay to recognize there's a season in life for that balance to shift around a little bit. But it should never be all or nothing. There is no maximum productivity without a work-life balance because you have to have that to be healthy, not just physically, but kind of mentally and emotionally.
Don't mind so much what other people do. If it's for inspiration, great. If it's to compare yourself, probably not a good idea.
I think the supervisor is probably the most important aspect of a PhD.
Observe them, follow them, extract what's really useful for you.
The best advice I can give is don't worry about anything.
Take a step back, enjoy, and the only person you should focus on is you and yourself and your research.
Try a lot of things and find what you're passionate about.
Always find something you are really passionate about.
Do research on something you find interesting and you think it has a value.
Think of what your goal is. Different goals lead to really different kind of actions you can take during the PhD to get you ready for it.
Don't try to win a Turing Award on every paper, and don't be overly broad and vague. Be narrow, focused, well-scoped.
Right, so good afternoon, everyone. Thank you.
Okay, let's go back.
Book I read that was, I think, very influential when I was younger was The Singularity is Near by Ray Kurzweil. So in that book, Ray Kurzweil basically predicted a future where man and machine would merge together to sort of become a single race, you know, on a high level, speaking from a high level. And back then, these kind of notions were really only discussed in science novels, science fiction. But in that book, Ray Kurzweil, he actually used a lot of data and charts to see someone in our world giving real and serious argumentation for a future where machine, such as our phone or a watch or our bikes, could merge together with you to become a single sort of human-machine race. This was something that was really mind-expanding to me back then, and I guess this is what made the research area of human-computer interaction. It just instantly caught my eye when I saw this area as a potential research career that undergraduate students in the US could pursue, and that got me into the research role that I'm doing right now with the NUS HCI lab. So at the end of year 2, at the same time when I was interviewing for all the companies for my NLC Silicon Valley program, I went to Chiang Mai in Thailand for about 1 month to participate in the inaugural Chiang Mai camp held by the NUS HCI lab. It was during the Chiang Mai camp experience that I designed almost all of the pilot studies that were eventually included in this paper that I published at MobileHCI. It is also such a spiritual renewal experience where every weekend we would just stop work and drive around Thailand for sightseeing, for hiking. We went to the Chiang Mai Zoo, which is really interesting. They put rooster in the zoo. I don't even know how a zoo can make money by putting rooster inside, but they did, and we pay money for it. So, I guess another really important takeaway I've had from the Chiang Mai camp was that it is where I learned to approach HCI research from the first principle paradigm. I remember back in the camp, Prof. Shen Dong shared with me that
he'll recommend me to first start doing literature review from neuroscience and the brain. Back then, I guess, because I didn't really know much about it, I was very much focused on the behavioral psychology aspect of people's multimodal interaction, and I wasn't aware of the fundamental biological sort of reason and the explanation behind why people would interact in this way versus another in different scenarios. So I can give you one example. I think back then I read a paper on I/O modality switching costs. Like, for example, when you perceive visual information, what is the mental cost when you respond to that input using tactile or motor response versus when you use I think was it vocal response. I think that's a paper that really made a lot of impact on me, which is we can talk about our cognitive resources in a very scientifically rigorous manner and use it to form powerful hypotheses that can be used in your study design. So yeah, that's really good. I think I was amongst the first batch of computer engineering students which went through a complete course revamp in the CEG recommended schedules. So there were a lot more courses which are not super theoretical and not the most engineering focused, you could say, that were added to our schedule. For example, we took courses like DTK 1234 design thinking, that is very much focused on design and prototyping. And we also have courses like CDE 2501, which is livable cities, that assign you to a specific region in Singapore and give you 1 semester long to come up with a novel solution to a problem you find in that specific region of Singapore, using all the knowledge you've learned and all the professional sharings during the course, which I thought was really, really interesting. IE 2141, system thinking. I think from that course, it really taught me that you don't need an overly complex solution to address a huge problem. Sometimes a well-targeted, tiny intervention can have a large impact on the entire system because there is chain reaction one after another. So I think that was also another course that really widened my horizon. Being exposed to such a wide range of domains, for example, in urban planning, in system thinking, right? And for me, myself, I took additional courses in psychology, social psychology, cognitive psychology, and also some courses in architecture. I think this exploration that I was this process of exploration that I was allowed to conduct during my undergraduate study was one of the most useful and impactful experience I've had in NUS as an undergrad. So for me, I really appreciate the NUS CDE and especially the computer engineering course for giving me this chance and giving the students this freedom to explore their directions and expand as widely as possible and think as laterally as possible before they can be certain what they want to do in their lives. So I think that's really, if you ask me if you ask me the best thing about NUS CEG, I'll say that's the best thing about NUS CEG. And lastly, I just want to say a quick thank you to the other professor who has supervised my work, Prof. Liu Haiming from University of Southampton in the UK. She will actually be hosting CHEER, I think, later this year. So if you're someone who's interested in human-computer interaction and information retrieval, you'll remember the power of interdisciplinary research and study, like I said just now. If you're someone who's interested in this field, so please look out for this event. My current research project is at the intersection of human-computer interaction and information retrieval. So without the expertise from either side, this paper would not be possible. So I'm deeply appreciative of two of my supervisors, Prof. Zhao Shendong and Prof. Liu Haiming, for their expertise in HCI and IR that made this project possible. And I would also like to give a quick shout out to my co-authors for this paper, Yuan, Danny, Yuekun, Lon, and Dui. Thank you for your contribution to our paper, and it's been great working together with you guys. My back is breaking.